Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Exchange Live Sessions. Happy post-election day. Whoa. Happy Wednesday, hump day. I don't even remember what day it is. And what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. So I feel like it's usually 9 o'clock. It probably is back in the old time, but so many things going on. This is our first Wednesday with all this chaos going on, but it's the kickoff to November. And I hope everybody is doing okay. I know some are anxious. There's a lot going on in the world today, but I hope today you're tuning in with us so you can maybe take a little break, take some time off, breathe a little bit, and join us for the Exchange Live sessions with our special guest this evening. I'm Candice Reyes, and I am the host for the evening, and I am also one of the founders of the Jazz Exchange. And we're really excited if you're tuning in live with us for the first time. Welcome. Please, as you can see on our screen here, we have all our social media handles that you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then our website is TheJazzExchange.org. If you don't know anything about us, I ask that you go out and check what we're doing. We're doing a lot during this pandemic, and even pre-COVID, we started doing a lot of stuff in the New York City area and other areas as well. So, tune in, please subscribe, like our page. It really supports and helps our community, as that is our main mission of building community through music. All right, and let's see here. We're going to here we go. All right, so also I want to bring up, we have an educational program. This is a program that we've been doing for the past 3 years in partnership with Jazz House Kids, which is a nonprofit organization here in New Jersey. And the Jazz Exchange educational program is a program that supports students from Abel, my husband, who is also the founder and saxophonist, and I's hometown. So we get students from El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, Chihuahua, to come and experience a summer workshop with the Jazz House Kids summer workshop that happens here every year during August in Montclair, and is part of the Montclair Jazz Festival. It's a great organization and that does a really amazing work. And so we've partnered up with Jazz House Kids with Melissa Walker and Christian McBride to put this educational program for students in the Southwest that have not had the opportunity to go outside of their communities to experience something like this and experience, jazz with fellow students and jazz masters and acclaimed, renowned jazz artists that are participating and faculty members that are part of the summer workshop. So if you'd like to learn more about the educational program, you'd like to maybe support or donate some money to our program to support a student to come over and be part of this, that's always beneficial. So please go to our website and you'd be able to find a little bit more on that as well. Another thing is we, ever since the COVID hit, I would say 2 weeks after that, Abel and I started the Jazz Exchange Relief Fund. And throughout that time up until now, we've almost hit about $4,000 where we've raised enough money to support artists. This is something that we just wanted to do to give back to artists who are, I mean, at this point, everybody's financially going through a lot, but artists were hit really hard at the beginning with, cancellations of their shows, tours, educational programs, and so this was definitely in support to artists who were full time musicians, also, and to support musicians who can't apply for unemployment, who aren't part of, the society that they can actually get income, and who are from out of town or from out of the country. So it was very important for us to put this together. And through the Jazz Exchange Relief Fund, we were able to also hire musicians through our virtual jazz sessions. If you check out what we do on YouTube, we were able to, give that financial support while still letting artists and musicians be creative and doing what they do best, play music and their instruments. So if you'd like to donate to the Jazz Exchange Relief Fund, I know there are many organizations you can choose from, but this relief fund will go directly to our artists, and nowhere else. So we appreciate everybody's support on that end. All right. And one more cool thing that's coming up. So pre-COVID, if you guys didn't know about what the Jazz Exchange was, we were known for doing our secret shows. A secret show was a show that you just pretty much trust in the Jazz Exchange to put something amazing together. And you'd show up to a secret show. You'd learn where the venue area was. Sometimes it'd be in New York or New Jersey. And then you didn't know who was performing. You didn't know the venue until 24 hours before. And so through our secret shows, we were able to really build community and bring supporters and new audience members to listen to the music, to listen to jazz. And with our secret shows, our performances always were an emerging musician opening up for a featured artist. That was kind of the concept of learning to build with each other, play for each other, connect, and really be part of this community. And so now we've actually brought in a new dynamic to our secret shows. It's a very new experience. It's where, overall, you still discover a unique venue. You're still experiencing an amazing artists and performing artists, and you're still meeting new people. And with this new technology, we've partnered up with Yardbird Entertainment, where we have, a great experience where you'll be able to be part of our secret show. And this will be happening this coming up Sunday, November 8th in Midtown Manhattan. You have to RSVP, and we are asking for a suggested $25 donation if you can to be part of it. And so you can check out our website and go to TheJazzExchange.org to find out more, and you can RSVP to be part of this coming up Sunday. Obviously with social distancing, we have taken a lot of thought into precaution and safety for our audience members as well as for our performing artists. So I hope some of you guys can join us if you're in the New York City area in Midtown, and you could check out our social media for a lot of updates and stuff like that. All right, so I want to get to the good part of this show today. We're really excited because we have a very, very special guest with us who has become a mentor, who has become a friend, who has become an inspiration to both Abel and I. And we're really excited that he was, even out of all his busy schedule, he is still very busy even during this pandemic. We were able to catch him, and he's able to join us this evening. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our very special guest, Mr. James Weidman. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and Candace, thanks for having me.
Oh man, it's so great to have you. Where are you tuning in tonight?
Well, I'm in New York City.
New York City. All
Yeah,
right. The heart of it all.
I'm telling you, yeah, the Big Apple.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, there was a lot going on before we even started when we talked prior yesterday. We were talking about how we were going to react to today based off of our elections that are going on currently and are still going on. So, I'm going to start off with the election part and how we're feeling. How are you feeling right now? There's so many things going on. We're still waiting. There's so many different chances and possibilities, but how are you doing with the whole election right now?
It looks like that Trump will be a one-term president. Uh, Biden is very close to 270.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing how close it ended up being. I
Mm,
wasn't really watching the polls that much, but I think that points to a real problem in this society.
right.
And I think the people who voted for Trump, I really think that they feel neglected. No one really has been addressing their economic interests.
Right.
And the Democrats, particularly.
Right.
But that relates to the whole idea that you have so much money in politics.
Yeah.
The donor class are the people who select who's going to run,
Right.
or they put money behind them. They put money into these judges that we have. So there's going to be some difficult days ahead, let's put it that way. But I think that people should really feel emboldened, be aware, and fight for the right thing.
Right, right. Yeah. Agree 100% on that. I think a lot of us are, whatever party you're voting for, it's at the end of the day, it's all also about working together in this country that we all live in, and working on pushing forward for a better country, for a better us, for a unity of all of us, right? And I think just being aware is very important about what the next days are going to bring.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
But anyways, I'm super excited because I know there's a lot of music. There's a lot of people tuning in with us tonight who, probably haven't been in touch or haven't seen you doing too much on live streams, but I know you've been in and out with some live streams or doing some digital virtual stuff. How's that going? Are you doing a lot of virtual online events or upcoming events that are
I
coming
have an
along?
upcoming event. Oh, I'll find that date later, but I
Okay.
think it's around December 14th.
Oh, cool.
And Ed Jackson, the alto player, is playing with me, and it's a
Mm.
duo.
Ooh, very nice.
So I'm looking forward to that being viewed. We did it early August. I had a whole string of things from July to the beginning of September. Did something with Joe Lovano, did a couple things on my own, did something with my wife, Queen. And, they were all fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I know
It's
it's
a new situation, the virtual
I was just
performer.
gonna say the
But the,
new
but the
norm.
one thing about piano is that you can play solo.
That is
It has
true.
been known as a solo instrument, so that was a nice challenge to be able to do a few solo things as well.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I mean, it's like anything, right? It's the new norm. It's the new way of performing for us musicians, and it's a new way of connecting to our audience members and still staying in touch. So, I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, and definitely send us that information, and we'd be happy to share with our viewers here. So, we'll definitely let you all know when Mr. James Weidman will be performing in December and give you all that contact information. If not, you can also visit his website, which will we be posting here on our chat. But anyways, we as we were starting off our exchange live session, uh, I wanted to ask you, James, about the tune that we were listening to as we begun the show, and it was a tune of yours called the Upper Manhattan Medical Group, and I wanted to.
I wish it was mine.
Oh, well, I mean, it was a song from you or that you were playing, but I know. But I wanted to ask you about this tune and just get some insight on it because it was a beautiful, beautiful tune to start off the show here. So, what is this tune about, and why did you pick it?
Okay, so the composition is a Billy Strayhorn composition.
Mm-hmm.
Upper Manhattan Medical Group. It's the acronym UMMG. And
Ah.
I think he was having some medical problems at the time, and he just wrote about his situation
Mm.
with this tune. But the tune, it moves through these little elements. But it's beautiful. I think it's one of the more beautiful tunes I heard. The first time that I ever heard it performed was by Tommy Flanagan. He did an album
Oh.
during the time. I think he was still with Ella Fitzgerald. It was on the Pablo album,
Okay. Okay.
label, Pablo label, Norman Granz,
Mm-hmm.
and he did it with her rhythm section. And I think he did a lot of straight. In fact, it was an all stray horn
Album.
album, very beautiful. And I said, "Oh man,
Wow.
that tune is so beautiful." So I wanted to learn it because of him. So, so it came about when I was doing this project, this solo piano project on the Fazioli piano. I was trying to think of tunes that were very lush and harmonic. I was trying to write that way as well, and you couldn't go wrong with Billy Strayhorn.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So that was the reason I chose that one. I had played it off and on for a while. The challenge at that time, and that was my first solo album, by the way, that I had done.
Huh.
The challenge was to play solo on a piano that I wasn't used to.
Ah. Okay.
But it got done. Bobby Hutcherson gave me some great advice. I was telling him I was doing this album. He said, "Well, after you record, don't listen to it."
Ooh, that's a hard one. And you didn't listen to it.
Well, well, of course I
Of
did, but
course.
I think what he meant was don't let it mess with your head.
Right. Don't go too hard on that because we can become so into it and like, oh no. I get
Yes,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was really the reason he said that.
That's great advice. And this album, since you said it was the first solo album, was this in if I don't know if I misread, but it was July 2013 that this came out? October Feeling?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Wow.
came out around that time. And Jim Luce, who did a lot of different things while he was in the New York area. Matter of fact, he's the curator of the event that is coming up in December.
Okay.
He's in California now,
Oh, nice.
but he would host a lot of solo piano events. He also would host an annual monk event.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
Right, and he was responsible for me. You see, there's a piano here. He sort of directed me into the area where I could purchase a piano about a year before that.
Wow, that's great. And where did you record this album? I mean, where was the first? I mean, since it was a solo album, where did you record this?
It was in New Jersey, Rahway, New Jersey, believe it or not. There
Ah,
was a little piano spot there.
wow.
With I also did a concert in that area,
Right.
and I can't remember. I think when I did UMMG, he just left me with the recorder.
Mm.
So I would set up the recorder, and I would play, and I would play till I would get a good take on some things. That's the way I did it.
And that's the album of October Feeling. Well,
Yeah.
I was so intrigued with this tune, and I feel like that we got some more people listening and tuning in. So I just want to go ahead and listen to this tune if we can from top to bottom. And this is Mr. James Weidman solo piano, first solo piano album of October Feeling. And we're going to take a listen. So all you viewers, turn up your volumes and here we go. One more second. There we go. Woo! Yeah. That's what I'm talking about right there. Beautiful, beautiful. That was the Upper Manhattan Medical Group by Billy Strayhorn, performed by Mr. James Weidman on this album, October Feeling. Wow, that was beautiful.
Oh,
Got a lot of
thank you.
hearts
I
and
did
love it
once.
there. But I was when I was listening to this tune, and just thinking, first of all, I would have never known that this was a piano that you've never played on before. I didn't hear anything on my end, right? Me being the vocalist that I am, but I mean, just your touch, your essence on how you, I've had the honor to perform with you and play with you, and I mean, it's beautiful. I just love your playing, and I think it's hearing a solo piano is for me is by far one of my favorites, and that was a beautiful tune. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I should clarify too. I should say initially when I came upon this piano, and that was a few years before,
Okay.
it was a very scary thing. I mean, I had to spend some time
Yeah,
getting the sound, getting used to it.
I'm sure. And I mean, this
Yeah.
is a thing, right? This is a thing. Like, it's not like, some people just think, oh, I got a piano. You can play on the piano. It's all going to work out. Every piano is different, has a different feel, a sound. And it's not just something that kind of, especially recording, right? When you're recording, you want to know what you're playing on and feel comfortable with that.
Oh yes. Oh
So
yes.
I'm glad that was a beautiful tune, and as you all can see, you can purchase on iTunes. Please support this wonderful music and get it on your playlist for an evening of wine or something, and just don't enjoying some James Weidman. Now, I'm curious, Mr. Weidman, because I knew you grew up in a musical family, and I know we've talked before, and you said your father was a saxophonist, and um, I, I'm assuming growing up, you learning, playing piano, or and if I'm not mistaken, I think you had told me that you learned organ, uh, or you were playing organ, and
Oh yeah.
so you started performing and playing in your dad's group. And what is your dad's name? It just
Same as mine. I'm junior.
Junior.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
got it. So you're the junior, but I know you recently lost your father, and I definitely remember you talking about him, and so our thoughts of thinking about him. But I wanted to ask you kind of your story of how the musical career that has shaped you because of your father being a saxophonist, you growing up in a musical family. I think one of the biggest things in general is, the topic that we wanted to talk about is something that you love teaching your students at William Patterson as a professor as well, is, the better the technique, the better your communication. And I wanted to kind of start from the beginning of how that helped and shaped and molded you with this technique to be this communicator that you are today as a musician.
okay, I'm going to start with one thing before I kind of dive into the questions that you are asking me.
Yeah.
Today's Lou Donaldson's birthday, I think.
Oh.
He's 92 years old. I can't really
Wow.
remember. But I remember when I first met Lou Donaldson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was playing some engagement in the Bronx. And he was there. And so he saw I was playing piano. He said, "So, what's your name?" I said, "James Weidman." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Youngstown, Ohio." He said, "You're lucky to be playing any kind of jazz at all coming from Youngstown." So that gives you an idea. It's Youngstown. Mahoney County for the first time went Republican, by the way. To go back to
Yeah.
Mahoney County, where they had Lordstown and the steel mills, the Rust Belt. So that's back to what I said earlier, if you remember.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
people, they want somebody to talk to them. And Trump, he might talk to them.
Mm.
I don't know what he's saying half the time, but he'll talk to them. But
Yeah.
back to what you're talking about. So I was very fortunate to have the music in my house. My father came from Meridian, Mississippi.
Mm.
To tell you a little bit about my dad, he entered high school 2 years after the high school was built. There were no high schools for black people in Meridian, Mississippi.
Wow.
Before that,
Hmm.
the whole family was happy. I mean, his mother was thrilled because his mother had to quit school at fifth grade to work. That was her
Wow.
experience.
Wow.
The the tra- the trajectory that she saw with the family made her very happy because she saw an arc of progress from those hard times that she had to experience.
Yeah.
Where her father had died and with nothing but girls in the family, and well,
Mm.
you can imagine what type of situation that was. So anyway, the music thing was so invigorating for him. It was such an educational experience because they had the usual thing, marching band, concert band, but they also had what you would call a jazz band. They called themselves the Southern Swingers,
Mm.
and they would play stock charts like Count Basie and Fletcher Henderson.
Yeah.
Their band director was a Louis Armstrong aficionado,
Wow.
and he had an assistant who was a more modern guy like Roy Eldridge. So that was kind of like my father's experience. So he brought that type of love for the music, and he stayed with it all his life. I mean, my last time I was with him in the hospital, about a week, well, maybe a few days before he took his last breath, I played a lot of different music, and that was kind of like put him in a more meditative state.
Mm.
But I remember playing like Dexter Gordon,
Yeah.
Our Man in Paris, and I know he had never heard this one before. His eyes got real big. He said, "Who's that blowing?" And Dexter was really, I mean, he was really playing
Yeah.
on this particular track. I can't remember which one it was at the moment, but I do remember hearing Dexter Gordon very early in my life. It was with Dexter Gordon and Wardell Gray playing "The Chase,"
Wow.
and it was before a live audience. You could hear the people sort of egging them on, and so I thought it was a great thing. And I heard a lot of saxophone, and I think I really gravitated toward that sound. I think the sound got into my head, even though I started piano.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I wanted my lines to sort of be like a saxophone. And when I started to play organ, well, you could scream on the organ, you can roar, all those kind of things. And understand, when I started playing, there were no pianos. So
Mm.
basically, you had to be an organ player. So we had a Hammond organ, and I learned the basics, a little bit of jazz, but we played cover things. We played everything from James Brown, funk, cover things that were on the radio and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But back to Lou Donaldson, one of the first things that I learned that was sort of jazz like was Alligator Boogaloo. Lonnie Smith had a tune called Peepin'. So we learned some Lou Donaldson things, and he had some other covers that he would do, and we would do the covers that Lou Donaldson would do. So that was my early experience playing music as an organ. Then I went to electric piano, jazz wise. I was
Okay.
taking piano lessons at the time,
Okay.
but to perform. And then finally, I started playing more acoustic. But truth be told, I didn't get an opportunity to play as much acoustic as I wanted to until I arrived in New York, which was kind of weird. But that's just the way
Mm.
my own trajectory happened. So, with every instrument, you had to figure out how to make it sound. Whether it was a Fazioli piano, a Hammond organ, a Rhodes, every so that's where technique comes in,
Mm.
and technique in the sense of what Charlie Parker describes technique in music as. He says first you master your instrument, then you master the music, then you forget everything and you just play. That's kind of like the all-encompassing goal of what we have to do as musicians.
Yeah. Learn it all, get it all in, and then just go
Be
out.
free,
Yeah.
free as a bird.
Yeah, definitely. I mean that's the approach I think with any kind of art form, right? Any kind of art form is
Absolutely,
having that
absolutely.
that freedom at the end of the day that builds your own personality, builds your own, when a lot of musicians say, how do you find your own voice? How do you find your own voice when you're as a musician, as an instrumentalist, as a vocalist? Because we have so many mentors that we look up to, such as yourself and so many other mentors, before you, and how we, interpret music and inspiration from others, and how we've learned, it's like learn from the greats, learn from, people who have been playing this music, and then to also kind of have this like separation, right, of now I have to I've internalized it, now it's me to kind of give you my voice. And I think that's kind of a process, that a learning process for all of us, and us young musicians, kind of to find our voice, find our sound, I guess you can say, if you'd like to say that. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
that's great. That's a great thing. I got to do some shout outs, James, because there's a lot of people on here tuning in and wanting to say hello. We have Janice Grice and Kent Englehart saying hello. Ruthine Robinson.
Youngstown State University.
Ah,
Used to be
okay.
the jazz program there.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And we got Thomas Benedetto. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing anything wrong. We got Peter Lynn watching also. He said,
Oh,
my college
Peter,
teacher, he told me.
oh, yes, Peter, like your husband, he took a few sessions with me. We had a great time.
Yeah, I know. Oops, excuse me. I know Abel took some lessons with you, and was your student at William Patterson, and that's how we've had the opportunity to, perform with you. I've gotten to hear you live in many occasions, and to, even have the honor to play with you in our band. So it's always a treat. But as we segue into this, having this thought of better technique and communication, not only can it apply to music, James, but how do you or how can you explain that for for general life circumstances, having a technique, and I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but having a technique for your art form, your craft, to be able to communicate better musically, is kind of saying also being informed, to be able to educate people, or to being educated is also that way. Is that something you would also interpret your way of that, what we're just talking about?
Well, it's an aspiration for sure.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes with musicians, they may really master their craft and play like an angel, and they're devils off the bandstand. So that's that's kind of incomplete if you think about your life's work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I know one of the things that COVID has done has given me time for reflection. I mean, reflection for music, but also as a human being, because that's a little more difficult.
Mhm. Yeah.
We have to really practice awareness,
Yeah.
and I think the awareness, the nature of our thought, and it's all related to music. But I think that's why music sort of is a way to practice that sort of partial insight
Mm.
into things.
Yeah.
But if we can, in our life's daily life's pursuit, even no matter how mundane it is, if we can really work on that, I mean, it's something that I try every day, and I haven't been that great, but it's good. It's good when you notice what you don't do.
Mm. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I know I'm getting really philosophical there, but I think it all ties in.
No, no. I mean, you know, we can get philosophical. That's okay. Getting deep is important also to internalize what's going on in the world, what's going on around us, what's going on in music and in current events, right? It's really important to have that understanding. So, I
Mm-hmm.
take your we take your advice and your thoughts and we appreciate, you sharing that with us. And I know we have other tunes that we want to share uh tonight, and I want to get a chance to listen to the other tunes, the other two tunes that we have selected for tonight. This next tune is a tune called Time to Make a Move. And I remember actually this was the first tune that I heard you play live because if I'm not mistaken, my husband loved this tune so much. I think he played it at a senior recital and asked
That's
Mr.
correct.
Weidman, "Is it okay we play your tune at my senior recital?" And you said okay, and I mean that song has stuck to me, and it's such a great tune. But give us a little background on this tune and the album from this tune.
Okay, so like October Feeling, the album is on the Inner Circle music label,
Mm.
which is a cooperative label, self-produced. So let me see. The Aperturistic Trio, comprised of Harvey S., Steve on bass, Steve Williams on drums, and myself. That was the group. And the name of the album is Truth and Actuality. Now, I sort of had my little challenge. People like to do Facebook challenges and stuff. So my challenge was whenever I had a rehearsal, if Harvey was coming over, Harvey or Steve, I would go to write a tune. And sometimes I would write a tune an hour before and see whether it would come out all right. This one was actually one that came out of a melody, and I actually decided to really listen to this melody that was going on in my head. I was just leaving the health food store, and all of a sudden I heard do 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 do. I said, "Oh man, you know what? I shouldn't forget that." So I had my phone and I sang it into the phone just so I could have those two
That's
bars.
good. That's good. That's how you got to do it.
And I ran home, and I got that much done, and I sort of completed it probably by the next day.
Wow.
Uh, it was just one of those things. I said, that's kind of interesting. I think I like that one. Sometimes I have a lot of things in my head. I said, well, that's just an improvisation. I'll think of something next time. I'm not really prolific as a composer that way. I guess there's so many other things pulls in my direction.
Mm.
But
So
that's how that tune was conceived. And then I heard, words. Time to make a move. I actually have a whole lyric thing to it, but it's kind of funny and you know,
I want to
just
hear
just
it,
some fun
man.
stuff.
I hope next time we can. This one doesn't have the lyrics, but I would love to hear the lyric version of it. next time that we have a chance, or maybe,
Yeah, it's kind of comical.
yeah, I'd love to hear it. But all right, so let's tune in to listen to James Weidman's "Time to Make a Move" on the album "Truth and Actuality," and it goes something like this. enjoying that here on the virtual chat here. Somebody said,
Truth and actuality.
yeah, truth and actuality. Somebody said that's definitely it's time to make a move for sure after hearing that, and I think Abel mentioned that on the chat here. Somebody just also mentioned has that monk vibe. This tune, I could agree to that. It's like a groovy tune on that, and a little funky too. So that kind of that I mean that everybody was jamming on that the three of you were just kind of working together, and it was just a great tune. And I kind of want to ask you about having these genres and style of performing and playing different styles of music, how that is incorporated, what you're able to play, and the capacity of fusions of how this kind of works together. Would you say that playing different genres and having these different styles of music, how important it is, especially for a piano player, but maybe in general, most players? How does that work? Is that something that kind of just came about with playing with different? I mean, you've played with so many amazing, Cecil Payne, Bobby Watson, Pepper Adams. I know you've played with,
Yeah.
vocalist Abby Lincoln, Steve Coleman, TK Blue. I mean, the list goes on, James, and I'm just, amazed at when you play with these different styles of music. How does that incorporate when you're writing music?
Well, yeah, it does have an influence on you.
Mm.
I think this is probably the other side of what Lou Donaldson was referring to. Lucky to be playing any kind of jazz coming from Youngstown. In Youngstown, you
Mm.
had to play all kinds of music. There was all kinds of music there. And when I went to college, there was a jazz elective under the auspices of Tony Leonardi.
Mm.
Ralph LaLama came out of that program. His brother, Sean
Oh,
Jones.
Sean Jones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of different people came out of it. And it was kind of a saving grace for me because I had no idea when entering the university how I would ever really play jazz. I had
Mm.
my father, I knew a couple people who knew little things. But the fact that they had the jazz ensemble, that helped. And then, well, let's see. Okay, so I'm playing gigs and it wasn't always jazz. I'm playing in a church. I learned how to play gospel music by listening to some of the other people play gospel music. I would
Mm.
borrow from them. So it's like being a working musician. You listen, you try to master whatever the genre was. I'm in music education, but I decided to do piano performance. I studied with a teacher by the name of Marceline Mayhall, who recently passed away too.
Mm.
So I guess that was my other challenge because I was listening to all these people play, and I said, but maybe I would play it this way. But I knew I would have to work in order to do it.
Yeah.
So I started practicing hours a day, got the technique necessary to be able to play that, and a lot of listening.
Right.
So whenever you want to do a certain style of music, I mean, you have to listen and you have to be open.
Mm.
If you want to play the blues, you need to listen to the blues and see what that is. If you want to listen to classical, actually, to tell you what my idea of the European classical music, which I sort of adhere to today, I decided that I wasn't listening to any of the contemporary players. I would go back to the earliest recordings to the Eastern European people who came over there. We had a little vibe, there were the Arthur
Yeah.
Rubinsteins and all those people, and oh man, I mean, you can hear that stuff on YouTube. In fact, what I heard today for the first time, I don't think I ever heard Debussy play.
Really?
Maybe briefly. They have a whole bunch of his stuff on YouTube, piano rolls and otherwise. And I said, "Oh, okay." But that's more of an organic thing.
Right.
Yeah, so whatever it is. I came to New York. I went to you you mentioned Cecil Payne. I mean, there were so many people in Brooklyn. Cecil Payne. There were the people who Wayne Shorter would call the unknowables, people who had played around but didn't get their name in the print. Like Al Dreers was a good mentor of mine.
Mm,
Bob Nellums, who worked with the last piano player with Charles Mingus. He
mm,
was a great mentor of mine. There were so many people. Harold Owsley, I worked with a lot. There were these great people who had something to offer. I mean, you could just, all you had to do was just listen. And sometimes people would just tell you one thing, and you just had to remember that in order to really get into the music. And my goal was to really try to learn from the past, just like what you were talking about, from the people who were there,
mm.
people who were willing to talk to you to tell you how the music was supposed to go.
Right. Right, 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 right. Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, that's great. And I think any musicians out there listening or young musicians, or older, we can all say that, having mentors is so important, especially, you know, molding your career, musical career. And I would imagine, just by naming all these amazing musicians that you've performed with, have been some type of mentor to you in your music and in your career. Would you say that having that mentorship of and friendships, I'm sure, that come along, how important it is for young musicians to have mentors in their musical career? What would you recommend for young musicians? Not only who are attending universities, you always can reach out to your teachers, but mentors, a true mentor, I think is so important for any musician coming up in the career.
Yeah, it's just to hang around and be around in their presence. Some even if you are unable to,
Mm,
there are recordings and things that you can learn from. But it's the university is where some of us still are, and there has to be this passing of the mantle. Though the difficulty today is that we have for so long lived in a throwaway culture. So
mm,
it's almost like goes against the grain of how we're taught to think. Because something here today is gone tomorrow. It's a new thing. So the idea that there is a connection, like you look at the music that we play.
mm-hmm,
So if you look at uh, pianists, so if you look at okay myself, well, there's somebody who came before me. There's somebody who came before them. There's somebody, and you have to really draw that line and try to understand how it all connects.
yeah,
And like I was speaking of my father earlier, when he went to school, there was one guy who played like Louis Armstrong. Well, the modern guy was Roy Eldridge, who came later, who came with something different, but it was still a connection. There wouldn't have been a Roy Eldridge if there hadn't been Louis Armstrong.
right. I mean, exactly. I mean, I think, and I also feel that having that conception of okay, one of my biggest idols was Ella Fitzgerald growing up. I mean, I literally had tapes of her, CDs, and I just really internalize it. And then at some point, I remember my mom, I grew up in a musical family. My mom just saying, it's good to internalize that, but then also you're going to have to learn to go out and think about, having your own voice. There's already an Ella Fitzgerald out there. So you need to kind of pay homage still, but yet still keep going with the lineage of the art form, the American art form, jazz. And so I think,
Right,
like you say, it's this connection that keeps us moving, and it's like family, right? Our family
right.
is our connection. The music is the connection, and so a lot of people, musicians should, out there, if you don't have mentors, if you get stuck with something, I think that's been one of the biggest things of, just calling up, like Mr. Weidman. It would be something that I'd be like, so James, I'm learning this tune. I love an Abby Lincoln. I would reach out because I mean it's so important to understand where it comes from, but then also learning and being educated. And it goes back to the better the technique, the better your communication to, putting it out there, would you say?
Oh yeah, it's a better the technique and really having developing the perception of how things are put together,
Yeah,
and that will really get you into individuality once you understand how you put something together.
right.
You know, or what you like. Sometimes it's what you like. I saw this video of Cecil Taylor. He says something that has really stuck with me. He said, "Find the notes that you like." Yeah, and
Yep.
play those. It's like you see something on the paper. He said, "Don't get so tied to the paper. What are the notes? What notes do you like? How do you like them together?" Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the whole thing. You sort of developing taste. Hank Jones used to
Yeah.
talk about that aspect of it. That's part of developing your own taste for things, and then you develop a style. The style just organically evolves from that.
And that kind of segues also into you as a pianist, and I think a guitarist and pianist, let's just say, are the two of the instruments that comp vocalists, a lot of vocalists, right? And so having that experience of playing with Abby Lincoln, you've played with so many vocalists, and I could tell that you are a great accompanist because of I've had that chance to play with you, and the fact that a pianist who can listen and also help and encourage the vocalist is, for me, is a great thing. And I wanted to get your insight on how the technique for comping or accompanying vocalist has also shaped your career with even all the genres and everything that you've learned. What would you say about playing with vocalists?
Okay, first off, the whole idea of being accompanist was sort of the importance of it was instilled into me by my father because my father was playing organ for a while. He laid the saxophone down, and then all of a sudden I started playing organ, and I played a little bit of reed instruments.
Ah, okay.
But I played behind him so badly. He said, "Boy, I wish you would learn to play the saxophone so I could play the organ." But
Come on
but
now.
oh man! But he would teach me some basic things about staying close to the melody and little things. So early on, I realized that it was important. Now,
Right.
when I started playing with Aminata Moseka, Abby Lincoln, one of the greatest things I learned from her was how to explore the music because she could be mercurial in the sense of the song will be one way one night and it will be another way the other night. So she will always say, "I don't want you to have a set idea of how to accompany me. In fact, I don't even want you to accompany me. I want you to explore the music with me."
Ah.
So that's another level of performing. So we're, we're exploring together.
Ah.
You're aware of the
Yeah.
lyrics, the nuances of her voice, how she's saying a word, where the rhythm is, and you had to respond. You can't say, "Well, I practiced that. I'm going to play this chord." No, she didn't want
For,
pad arrangement. She didn't want
forget
any.
everything. Yeah.
No, she wanted you to be free. You
Mm.
play in the moment.
Yeah.
That was
Something else.
yeah, that was something else. So I mean, that really opened me up to another way of playing behind a vocalist.
Mm. As
So,
opposed to a vocalist who, who would you say was another vocalist you accompanied that really just, it really liked your accompaniment for, following them? Who was somebody else that,
well, I played with Kevin Mahogany for many
mm,
years, and
yeah.
that was great. Cassandra for a few years, and
Oh.
that was wonderful. Now, someone who's not talked about very often, Dakota Staten. I used to fill in for Bross Townsend with Dakota, but I learned a lot from her. If you didn't play the right turnaround, um, she'll hum it in the back. I said, oh, that's what you're supposed to play because she would have these blues ballads that were certain specific things,
Okay.
and also her style. And she was from Pittsburgh, which was a
Mm.
stone's throw away from Youngstown, but had many jazz musicians that came from there. But she had a lot of variety in her music. So you had to know where to put the little fills. You had to know how to play the
Mm.
blues and not just like some muddy water blues, but you had I knew how to play one kind of blues. I remember when I used to play for her. Now I'm back to this Youngstown thing again, and she knew some Youngstown musicians who could really play the blues.
Uh-huh.
I mean, people who I knew.
Yeah.
Big Boogie D was the name of one guy. Hump Jones. They had all had funny names.
I love the blues names. I'll never get over them. I'm like, I need to find myself a blues name, but yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Kent Ingerhart out there, he probably knows some of these. He
Cool.
knows of those names. But anyway, she, I was playing something. We were doing some blues, and she turned around. We were at this place called the Angry Square. She turned around and said, I don't believe you came from Youngstown playing the blues like that. So,
Well, that was a compliment, right? Maybe. Maybe.
well, no, it was what I was doing wasn't correct.
She's
It
like,
wasn't
wait a
correct at
minute.
all. So I had to learn about, there's after hour blues, there's all these different
Right.
types of. So I really learned from her the distinctions.
Mm.
And Bross too, because I went over to Bross and said, well, Bross, what's she talking about? I said, oh, yeah. So, oh, okay. And Bross was a great blues player from Cleveland. But I
Okay.
learned, a lot about the subtleties of blues playing from Dakota State.
Man, that's good to know. I mean, and so I guess we also want to say is like vocalists out there, or accompanists, it's great to get together and play with different accompanists, and learning that because it really makes a connection. I think everybody kind of connects in different ways. But I really love your story on Abby Lincoln and how having that freedom and exploring music together at the same time is a whole other level. And that kind of goes into this next tune that I want to, our last tune that we want to show for the evening is a song called African Spirals, excuse me. And this is if I'm not mistaken, 2018 did this album come out?
Yes, it did.
Okay, called Spiritual Impressions. And I was reading a little bit about it on how it's, more African American spiritual songs. And
Yes.
I just wanted to get some more intake on this album and, what inspired you to do this album.
Yeah, I guess we could describe it as reflecting on the black lives that mattered in the 19th century.
Mm,
And a lot of these songs were cold songs. They were also songs of religious faith,
right.
but they were also songs about freedom.
Freedom. Yep.
And originally, I was commissioned, Dean Bowman and I did, who was a vocalist.
Okay.
We did a performance with a big band. It's the only set of big band orchestra stuff that I ever wrote. It was for the Umo Jazz Orchestra in Finland.
Mm,
And this is some of the pieces are scaled down versions of those pieces,
okay.
and some are some other things. But African Spirals was not on the album. That's the one of two instrumentals. One is a solo piece that I did
Mm,
of a spiritual.
okay.
This is an original that I sort of started writing because I was reading this book. It was a book entitled African Rhythms.
Uh-huh.
And they were talking about the pyramid and the golden mean
Mm,
and all these uh, geometric shapes. So I decided I saw spirals inside of it. So I decided I was going to write something loosely based on the mathematics of it.
okay.
And I think it did have a kind of a spiraling effect after I finished it because when
Interesting.
you think about the definition of a spiral, which sort of have this elevated type of thing going,
Yeah.
and these different layers of timeline manifestations that I sort of had going on with it. So that's how that sort of happened. I would just sometimes I'm inspired by different things. This was something in a book. I'm looking at these pyramids and these calculations and things.
I love
I
it.
said,
I
I
love it.
said, well, let me see what I would come up if I would just loosely write something based on what I'm seeing.
Right, right.
So that's how the tool was originally
And
conceived.
who's playing in this on in this band or who's playing here in this album?
Okay, well, we have Vince Ector on percussion and
Hey, all
drums.
right.
We have Harvey S. Anthony Nelson
Yeah.
is playing saxophone.
All right. Very cool. So let's go ahead and we're listening to this last tune of African Spirals by Mr. James Weidman on this album called Spiritual Impressions. And it goes something like this. Yeah. Got getting all those love, getting some love out here, James, on our chat here.
Oh,
I felt
thank
that
you.
spiral. I felt that spiral movement. Loved that at the beginning when the sax and the piano are playing, unison, kind of like the same line, and loved it. I thought that was a great concept at the beginning, and then how it just like, loved that. Uh,
Yeah, just the movement of the whole
yeah,
diaspora.
yeah, beautiful. I mean, man, and I think the songs, the three tunes that we showed this evening, very different, all three, and that just showcases, you as an acclaimed professional jazz, and diverse, player, um, and an amazing educator. I know there's many friends of ours that have worked with you and have also played with you, and a lot of people tuning in who are, friends and people who know you as well. And I think we can all agree that it's always a pleasure to hear you play, and great to get your insight and to pick your brain and to get some advice and talk with you, because I think you're the knowledge that you have and that you have to share, and the way you live your life. I think like the way you are as a person, as we've gotten to know you, is also been very inspirational. And so I have one more question before we end the night. And with everything kind of going on, um, how do we embrace this moment of change with our music, now that, with the pandemic and things kind of, we're having to do a lot of different things to kind of just play music, to be heard, to do, be out there, and playing to change with our music and the current events happening today, how important it is right now for people to be writing music. What's your take on this, to just kind of embrace this change, that we're all kind of going through today?
Well, I think first we need to look at this as the present normal. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know what the next normal is going to be. And digging deep into our creative spirit,
Mm-hmm.
this is the opportunity to be creative. Creative as human beings, creative in our art form.
Yeah.
I think for myself personally, when people respond to what they hear, it really means something. Think that if you're really honest about your presentation and you're sharing this music, I think it means a great deal to the other person. So we need to be continue to be serious and to roll with the punches.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, definitely rolling with the punches.
This is kind of what it is now.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And especially, we're all still in that anxious mode where we were talking earlier, with the elections and everything going on. Just, staying informed, being aware,
Oh,
checking in with each other. And I think I'm so excited that we had you this evening. Um, because we enjoy your music. We enjoy you as a friend, as a mentor, and Abel and I are very happy that we've had the opportunity to work with you and to have you as a friend. And it's been such an honor tonight to share, thank you for sharing your insight and your music and your life experiences with us. I'm sure everybody here tuning in was just enjoying it as much as I was. So I really want to thank you for being with us this evening, James, and everyone tuning in. Please follow him. We have his website up here. And you'll let people know, or would it be on your website for the upcoming show that you're doing, the virtual show?
yes, and I checked, and I did not. I think they changed the date. It's sort of in progress.
Okay,
I just know that it's coming in December.
great. So stay tuned. Go follow that. That makes you follow his Facebook page, his website.
Yes.
Go and follow James Weidman, and I'm sure he will. be posting when that new date would come, and we'd love to support you as much as we can. So I just want to say thank you
Appreciate
again for being here. Uh, like I always say, mi casa, su casa. We can always share, even if we're virtually sharing that. We're always here for you, James, and it's so good that we were able to have you and
Oh,
share this with
thank you
you.
for having me. I really appreciate it. And, Candace, you and Abel are the best. And much success with the Jazz Exchange. I really love what you're doing, the whole idea of it. I mean, it's beautiful, it's needed,
Thank
it's
you.
on point.
Thank you so much. Well, I know we got so much more content and you got so much more music and insight that I'm sure we will be having you again in the near future. So we look forward to it. And for those who missed it, they'll be able to get a chance to watch it on our Facebook page and YouTube. It'll be living on there. So follow us as well, the Jazz Exchange, and stay tuned. And we're here every Wednesdays from 8, and sometimes we go till 10 p.m. because conversations are just so great. So we're ending tonight at 9:30, but it was such an honor again, James. And please say hi to your wife, stay safe, and we will
Okay.
be in touch soon. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you, and have a good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Lost in a dream of when our love was carefree. You were the one from down the way. Finest day, the smile was everything, pure and true. And you knew you were the reason for my reverie. Sweet like a song, number one all summer long. I hung my heart on every word, every verse, swinging melody, love's refrain to the fade, and then I prayed it would repeat again. Autumn would try to hold on to the romance of July, rich reds and gold, but steeper than ever before. Caught up in between, feeling the growing pains of winter.